Welcome everyone. This is Paul Purdell, Chairman of the Website Committee. Just wanted to let everybody know that the audience members are in listen-only mode, and when we get towards the end, we'll do questions and answers. You should have a control panel in your top right that allows you to enter questions, and we'll get those to the presenters and they'll get responses for you. As far as scholarship credit for today's meeting, the membership committee will need a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks to get all that in, but don't worry, if you attend for at least 30 minutes, that will be credited automatically. We will match the email for registration to your email on the profile. And then if there's anybody who's joined via phone only, please enter your audio PIN in the control panel. That way we'll have control over your muting to avoid any echoes in the background. And then if you've not used the link and you're just doing phone only, we may need your call log for the scholarship committee to give credit. So with that, I'll turn it over to President Gary DeLita. Gary?
Okay, thanks, Paul. Just like to welcome everyone to our monthly meeting today, another virtual meeting. Hope everyone's doing well in these difficult, strange times. Hopefully we see the light at the end of the tunnel here with some promising vaccines and get back to normal sometime next year. I'd like to kick off the meeting and have everybody join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. George has put up a little flag here, George Rissky, that you see here. So I'll get started with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Then quick, some meeting updates. Again, I'd like to recognize Equix as our meeting sponsor for today's virtual meeting. If any of your companies would like to sponsor a monthly meeting, let one of the officers know and we'll get you set up. You can send us an email, any of the officers, and we'll get you set up with being a sponsor. And then as far as monthly meetings go, our January meeting again is going to be virtual over the lunch hour. We did take a poll here recently to see if people would prefer virtual meetings during the lunch hour or in the evening. So I think the consensus was to do them during the lunch hour. So our next meeting will be on Monday, January 11th, again over the lunch hour. Some quick updates on committees and events. As far as the scholarship, the applications will open on January 26th of next year. The application due date is February 13th at noon. We'll have interviews schedules posted by March 12th, and the interview date is going to be Saturday, April 3rd. For the fish out, the 10th annual fish out again will be held the first Saturday in June, June 4th and 5th next year. Mason's going to make a decision regarding the venue in January, depending on what's going on in Port Aransas and some of those restrictions with COVID. For the golf tournament, Trey wanted me to let y'all know that the tournament is now scheduled for April 5th. So that'll be Monday, April 5th at Kingwood. For the clays, Jim Hughes, I'd like to report that the sporting clays is scheduled for, in the spring, is scheduled for March 12th, and Friday, March 12th. As we get closer, obviously, you'll get emails reminding you to sign up for those. Veterans Committee from George. The Veterans Committee is in the midst of their Operation Santa with Combined Arms, their 11th annual Troy Drive. George would like to thank the sponsors. We got a couple of sponsors, Cleveland Integrity Services and CNL Inspection. Many thanks to those folks. And George wanted to remind everybody that there are slots still available for volunteers to help organize and distribute toys this coming Friday and Saturday. And if you'd like to do that, you can sign up on the website. As far as PYP, Todd would like to report that we had a really good turnout for the bowling event that was held last Wednesday. And also would like to thank the companies that sponsored a bowling team, and special thanks to our two sponsors of the event, Critical Crossings and LJ Engineering. Also like to thank all the participants and especially the volunteers who helped host this event, Graham, Clara, Ross, and Jonas. And finally, a special recognition should go to Jonas Acevedo of Rogue Industries, who had to manually calculate all the bowling scores when the venue's computer system went down. So many thanks to Jonah, who saved the day on calculating the final scores there at the PYP bowling event last week. I'll skip over education. Our presentation today is going to be from our education committee. So as far as membership, right now we have 1,496 paid members, and that's through the membership year now extends through the end of 2021. Just a reminder that members need 6 recorded attendances to qualify as a scholarship sponsor. Again, today's event will qualify you, and I believe if you sign up to volunteer at the, I could be wrong, Paul, but for the Combined Arms Toy Drive, Operation Santa this Friday or Saturday, I think if they're present there as a volunteer, they could get credit. And Paul wanted me to remind everybody that we recently sent out our 12th and final reminder to about 600 members that are over 150 days past due with your membership fees. If your past due membership fees are not paid by the end of this year, you will be dropped. You won't be able to sponsor a scholarship applicant. You will not be included in the membership directory, and you must reapply for membership to rejoin the association. I also like to remind everybody who is a member in good standing to get on the website and look at your profile information. By the end of this year, that's what we're going to use to publish in the membership directory that gets put out in the spring, usually February, March, I guess. And then website committee, Paul wanted me to again thank our website sponsor. We did secure a website sponsor here recently, and that's RockGuard HD for helping to fund our website. And really, that's treasury report. One final thing before I hand it off to George and Ed. Our treasury report, currently right now in checking, we have $617,951.27. And in savings, we have a little over $100,000. So we're in good position considering all things and what a year it's been. 2020, we're really in good shape to hand out again some significant scholarships next year. And really, that's it for me. I'm going to hand it off right now to Ed Hetsko and George Rissky from our education committee. They want to give you an update, a presentation regarding our online training module, which we developed in conjunction with PETEX. I think we released that in, I want to say late August, early September. Right now, we've only got about 50 folks signed up for that. So again, encourage you to go onto our website and get signed up and take advantage of that training. It is free. So I'm gonna bow out right now and shut off my mic and my camera and hand it over to George and Ed to give you a nice little presentation on our education program. Thank you, folks.
Well, thanks for the introductions. Well, thank you for joining us for our last meeting of the year, giving us the opportunity to share about the Pipeliners Education Program and our newly released online training for our members. I'm Ed Hetsko. I'm a career pipeliner with Phillips 66, did 32 years with Phillips in operations, maintenance, and project work, and got involved a lot in training, engineering training, and recruiting last part of my career. So this has been a good fit for me here to help out with the education program. Met George in Phillips, and he's going to be joining me running the slides, and he's going to tag in the second part of the presentation here. So we're going to do a presentation, giving over some of the background of how we got here. Go ahead to the next slide. We're going to go over a little bit of background, how we got here, give an overview of some of the lessons in the design module, and then George is going to take over and do the live demo of logging into Pipeliners and the PETEX sites, and then we'll go over some of the lessons learned and the value of our new course, and then some of the next steps in our program, and then we have some time at the end there. We'll take some questions. I'm sure we'll have a little time at the end. All right, so part of the Pipeliner's mission is to advance operations and maintenance practices for the benefit of our industry. And training education is a great way to advance our industry. We can transfer knowledge and experience to our members that way. So with PYP coming along in 2016, that's been a good step for us to start developing more training material here. So for PYP, three of their areas of focus have been providing education to our members, and coordinating a mentoring program, and also providing networking opportunities for everybody. And so as they worked on the education part, they started a partnership with PETEX to help develop the training. So online training was going to be a good method for us to get that training out to our members. So in 2019, we signed an agreement between Pipeliners and PETEX to help us start working on the first module, which is pipeline design. And so PETEX has a lot of experience and resources to develop online content. They need about 10 months to develop online content from an in-person training. They've done that in the past with a lot of their other training. They hadn't done it on midstream yet, so that's why we saw the opportunity here to work with them to develop this. So they would, so part of the agreement, they would deliver that module in 10 months. We would provide SMEs to help develop and review that content, and then they would deliver that training through their learning management system, and we would have access for our members for 10 years from the release. So that was the agreement as it came out. It got delivering that first module in 2020 for design was the key part that we've been focusing on all year. All right, next slide, George. So for PETEX, if you hadn't heard of PETEX, most people heard of PETEX, a well-established leader in oil and gas industry training, been around a long time. Trained thousands of companies and over 700,000 students, U.S. and international. Probably the bulk of it has been upstream from what I've seen, but they got a lot of areas that cross over into our industry. But they do have some pipeline technology modules that they've done in person for quite a while. They've done that for a few decades, and so we're working with them to bring that midstream content online. It'll to the benefit of both of us, because they don't have it and we need it, and they would like to present that to everybody else too, and sell that on the market too for non-pipeline members. Next slide, George. So a few key things about our new online training. I mentioned the 10 years. So after release, our members have access to it for that long. We have 3 modules planned. The design module, which we just completed and rolled out, and that's what we're going to be talking about today in some more detail. And get some interest and get some more people signed up would be good. And then from there, we're going to go on to development of the next 2 possibly, which is going to be operations. We hope to kick off this year, and then maintenance after that. So they've been doing this training for years and improving it through feedback and through their SMEs, and providing all the content for the online training. So we're not developing the content ourselves, but we do bring our SMEs in to help review it. And we had a lot of suggestions as we went through the design module on things to improve it, just based on George and mine experience and others that helped out with it, to do that, review the content before release. So next slide, George. So here's 10 lessons that we have in the design module that covers design, and these topics follow the in-person training that they've been doing for years. So all this content came from their instructors, their SMEs. They have several of them. It takes several of them to do this week-long training session on these 10 topics. So So we sat in on some of these when they did it last time around to help come up with some improvements. And just a few key points on them, like the regulatory lesson. The first one on regulations was heavy on the PHMSA regs. Yeah, but there's more to reg than 195 and 192 to us. So we had them expand that out and give more regulatory content on other federal regs and then state and local requirements too. So if you're looking at the regulations from a project standpoint, there's a lot of other regulations to consider beside the PHMSA side. So they did that for us. And then right-of-way contract, mainly about the steps of requiring a right-of-way for a new project. Then we got a couple of modules on, or a couple of lessons on mainline pumps, one on electrical, one on pumps, one on electric motors, and one on pumps. And then in here on number 5 is pipeline hydraulics. Important part of the design phase that's needed for sizing pipe, determining pressure ratings, locating pump stations, and sizing them. So that's a key module right there on the design phase that they're covering. Good hydraulics course there, and by engineering SME on that. Heavy on engineering, much like the next 3, which is on hydraulic surges, controlling surges. So big on engineering here. May not be for everybody if that's not a consideration, but for a lot of operators that is on new pipelines and definitely on new projects. It's not a problem after a project's done if all your surge has been mitigated, and here's some of the steps on how we get through that to make sure there's not a surge problem on liquid lines primarily. So, but the last 2 here on 9 and 10, this was once I sat through some of this training, that was the content I was really looking for on mainline design, mainline and station design and construction. So, I mean, both these lessons go through design and construction phases of a project, give you a good complete picture of everything involved in a new construction project. Highly recommend those 2 at a minimum. I know getting through all of these might be tough if it doesn't. A lot of people don't want to hit the content that doesn't apply to them, but these last 2 are really good and good content and quizzes as you go through them. And next slide. And here's an example of a page from the pipeline construction lesson. So you'll go through all the content on on one lesson, and then you'll have another link where you'll click over for a 10-question quiz after that. And all the quizzes are multiple choice, and they give you a couple chances to get through that too. Sometimes the multiple choice or multiple selections, pick all that apply, so they get a little tricky then, but not too bad. I did the pipeline construction one and some of the other ones, but I really like this one too. So, but I'll let George get into that a little more on the content here on doing the online demo. So I'll let George take over from here now.
Thanks, Ed. I think the most important thing is how to get into it. And so we want to make sure everybody knows how to get to this training if they so desire. I'm going to switch screens here for a second. So the first thing you have to do if you want to take these courses is you have to sign up for them, because you have to be a member of the Houston Pipeliners Association. And so it's fairly easy to do it. You just come into the Pipeliners website, you click on education. You'll see here that the PETEX registration is right there. So you'll click on that, and you'll notice here that you have to log in order, because it is a users area. Okay, and so you'll log in. And then once you're in, you're going to go ahead and you're going to just fill out this simple form. Make sure you use the email address that is connected with your Houston Pipeliners account. That just makes it easier for them to verify. But you just fill out this form and you click the submit button, and it takes about a week normally to get a response back. You'll get an email that tells you your login information as well as your password to be able to go into the actual training itself. Now, the training itself is through the second link that's in the slides, and I think we'll make sure these slides are provided to everybody, but it will be in the email that you receive as well, so that you can find it. And what it is you'll get a login that looks like this to be able to get into the PETEX Canvas shell itself. And so you'll have your email and your password, and you'll just click on log in, and it will take you to what's known as a dashboard page. Okay, and so this is the dashboard page, and here you'll see the module for the pipeline technology course that's here, or excuse me, and so this will take you into that's the course itself, and then it takes you to this first module, which is on pipeline technology design. Okay, and so you can come to the modules, and here you can see all the different lessons are available, and it's very, very simple. You're basically just navigating in, okay, and you can click on a lesson. Say you want to do pump station design and construction, you can click on that lesson, and it'll load the lesson, and it'll actually go through it as if you were attending the class, and then you can come through here. And of course, obviously there's volume and everything else. I'm going to exit out of that before it makes too much of a mess. But and so it's very, very simple to navigate through here, okay, and do this. There's a tech support number if you have any problems as well. It does take about 30 hours. You do get a certificate from PETEX for completion of the course. So again, this is an opportunity for you to be able to go in and take this, okay, very, very simply on your own time when you want. You can go back over here now. So again, you start with the pipeliners, as I mentioned, to do your initial registration. Once you get the email, then you'll go to this link, which is the login for the PETEX Canvas shell that I just showed you to access all the lessons. And so why do we do this? Well, if you think back to what it is we're trying to do, especially with our younger generation pipeliners, trying to make sure that we capture knowledge, we extend that knowledge out, give them the ability to learn from experts, okay? This is a way to increase that competency with them. The other thing with this is it's very flexible. If you want to take this course through PETEX, you'd have to sign up, you'd have to plan that week, you'd be out of the office that whole week doing it while they're doing the in-class session. So basically you're out of pocket for that whole week. And I think we've all done courses that way in the past. Well, now with this, you can basically do any time you want. If you want to spend an hour today working on one of these, you can spend an hour or a half an hour, get through the lesson. It remembers where you were, so you don't have to start back at the beginning. So it makes it very, very convenient. And I think that we've seen this even before COVID. We've seen a lot of companies have gone to more online type training because it is more convenient to be able to do that. I think one of the other things too is helping generate interest in the pipeline industry. This gives you a chance to take some of these courses that not everybody does. It is a membership perk. Certainly we're trying to attract pipeliners to be part of the Houston Pipeliners Association, especially attracting younger pipeline members, okay, to be part of our organization. And so this is a perk that for your $100 a year being a member, okay, you get a chance to actually take this training, okay? And as I said, this is some advanced high quality training. As we went through this, kind of developing this first module around the pipeline design, some of the things that we learned was that, it does take a lot of time. There's a transition here. This is originally set up by PETEX as an in-person training. They recognized the need to move it online, just like we did, to be able to reach a wider audience. And so, everybody wanted to do this, but it's not something that's that simple. You just don't take it and throw it on there. So it takes a lot of time. It's taking about 10 months to develop these training courses and move them over. There is a lot of time for review that needs to be there. And I think one of the most important things we need is engagement of SMEs, especially those of us that have been in the pipeline industry for a while. We've got background. And I think, Paul, you've got a survey for us. We wanted to send a quick survey out for everybody, a poll here that, if you would like to assist as an SME in developing this next module, which is going to be the pipeline operations one, we would like to know. So if you are interested, please check yes. This will give us a list, and we'll be in contact with you probably around the end of January, beginning of February, as we start looking at how we're going to develop this next module. So, but it is critical that we review it as well. You've got experts at PETEX, but again, you need it takes a village, I think, sometimes to put these things together. And we all have different experiences. We all have different knowledge of different things. We've all run into different situations. And I think that being able to take that knowledge that we have as an organization and help pass that down to our younger generation is also very important. We've talked a little bit while the poll's running, a couple other things here, information for a refresh to try and keep this thing current. We're going to have access to this for 10 years. We want to make sure it stays current. So, making sure that everything is up to speed. I know when Ed and I sat through some of the in-person trainings that they had, there were some things that have been, that were a little bit out of date that needed to be updated. And so we were able to work with them to help make that, make the course better and bring things along. Also, feedback mechanisms. Canvas has a very nice feedback mechanism in it. We're working with, we're going to work with PETEX to try and use that more. But we also want to get feedback from the people that are taking it. As I said, we've got about 50 people right now that are signed up. We certainly encourage more. This is open to everybody, and we want to get feedback on what you think. And we want to get that feedback as well as to how we're going to develop those new modules going forward to make sure that they meet the requirements and the content that we want to share with as an organization. I mentioned some of the positive notes already. We talked about this ability to move at your own pace. I think one of the other key things in here, and Ed kind of touched on it, was you have flexibility to pick and choose lessons. Some of the surge hydraulics may be more than some people want to learn about. Certainly, if you're in pipeline service or in sales, you may not think that you need to know about surge. However, some of the other information that's even in this design course may be beneficial to you to understand certain things about how they work. And so you can pick and choose lessons, and that's something that you can do online that you cannot do if you sign up for the whole course, right? So, and of course, this course, if you sign up for it, is about $1,000 to take it. Whether you do it, if you sign up as PETEX and you're not a member, okay, or sign up through PETEX not as a member, you can either take it in person or online for about $1,000. So it's not a cheap course, all right? And so, and if you only want 1 or 2 lessons that might help you with your job, you certainly don't want to pay that money to do that. Whereas here, because we have this available to all of us as members, you can pick and choose the lessons you want to do. Okay, and of course you get feedback on how you're doing through the quizzes in real time. I mean, you don't have to wait for anybody to grade anything or stuff like that. And I think one of the other things is that going through PETEX, which is part of the University of Texas, they're using Canvas. And I know some of us that are older that when we went to college didn't have a lot of online options. This might be a little bit foreign to us, but if you've gone to college anytime in the last 10 to 15 years, you're very familiar with these types of formats through Canvas, Shells, or some of the other ones that are used. And so it becomes something that you're familiar with as a younger engineer. You can navigate through this very, very, very quickly. Some of the next steps that we wanted to do, right? We talked about identifying some SMEs moving forward for the review and trying to look at these next modules. I think actually, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the next module going to be operations? I think is the next one we're going to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so and we want to certainly get some feedback from the people that are taking these courses now, and we want to update the agreement. So we'll be talking with the Pipeline Association board here in January. We want to talk about what we have. We'll do a little more extensive presentation on the Canvas shell and some things that could be done, and update that agreement so we can go ahead and get this next piece moving as we go along. And that's probably the next steps as to where we're at, is getting that next one done. We mentioned updating the Canvas shell. I think that needs to happen, and trying to make things a little more interactive in an online format. Again, when you're going from an in-person taught, sit in a classroom type modality for presenting the training, going online is a different ballgame. And so you have to kind of evolve with that and create some things that are more interactive for people to use. And so we've already talked with PETEX about that, about the need to try and be more interactive, and we're looking at things that we can do to help them along in that capacity. And then also looking at the content and how it fills gaps, and then naturally, you know, the analytics at the end of the day. The Canvas shell itself has got a lot of analytics that are built into it. And so we want to look at those and see how we can access that as a organization to get more feedback on how people are using the modules, how they're reacting to them, and what they're really getting out of it. And with that, I think we'll open it up for any questions that anybody has.
All right, Ed and George, great job on the presentation. So far, no questions have come in. So
Then I guess we've done a tremendous job.
You have done a tremendous job. On the polling, though, just in case you're interested, 36% of the audience voted and 10% said yes, they would want to help, and 90% said no. So typical of organizations, but that's fantastic that we've got some leads for you.
That's wonderful.
Great.
Well, we'll give it another try here. Okay, here, now they're starting to come in. This question from Grady Bell. On average, how long does it take to do a section?
On average, what they say, 30 hours for the whole thing. And I think it'll probably vary 1 to 3 hours, just depending on what you're doing, which one it is, because probably some of the surge ones in hydraulics are going to be pretty tough getting through. But I think the construction, I don't think I took more than an hour or so going through that one. So
yeah, same thing. I think for regulatory was fairly quick. It's some of the engineering ones will be a little longer, but when you figure it out, 30 hours, 10 lessons, about 3 hours a lesson. So some of them are going to be a little longer and some of them are going to be a little shorter.
All right, and the next question is from Tim Levere, and just so everybody knows, Tim arranged for the sponsoring of today's meeting from Equix. Yeah. So he's asking, are there any plans for future in-person trainings, or is all this virtual?
No plan for in-person right now. We're trying to get the online up and going first, but that might be something we can talk about in the future. That definitely would fall within under the training committee.
All righty, and Scott Metzger is asking, has the course been updated to reflect PHMSA's mega rule?
I know we talked about it when we were sitting there going through it with them. I believe it has, but we'll need to check.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think this one here, because the mega rule deals more with operations and maintenance. So I don't think you'd see a lot of changes in this particular regulatory piece of it, because this is more on the design. Obviously, there's some of the mega rule that'll affect that when you design things, but most of the mega rule is going to impact the operations and maintenance side.
Okay. And this next one's coming from board member Brandy Roberts. Can you share this information with your coworkers for this to join? Let's see, for them to join to take advantage of education. Also, will you get PE credits that are certified and accredited through UT?
I think we did talk with them about getting that. So there's no information on the site right now, but that was a follow-up thing we need to get. So, but I believe we could.
You do get, yes, there, if you complete this whole module on the design, you do earn 3 continuing education units or 3 CEUs for the course. I have to check and see, we'd have to check and see with Texas Board of Professional Engineers if they transfer over. Normally they do professional development hours, but the CEUs should work. I just need to check.
Okay, and another question related to credits. Patrick Bardwell is asking, what kind of hour credits is being considered for the O&M portion? This is a great product and content is well done. on the pipeline design. How many members involved in the training committee, and how many more are needed?
Well, there's a couple of us here on the training committee. Here looking at them. We could use some help. Definitely.
The more the merrier.
That's true. And and the content on the next two, that's something we got to look at here real soon too, as we get into the next year and developing that. Is I'm interested to know what all the lessons are on the operations to see where that's going to go.
Yeah. And I would imagine that we'll see about 3 CEUs for each one of these modules as we go through.
Probably so, because I think one is a week-long in-person training session through PETEX right now.
Yep. So they all should be similar.
Okay. The next question is from Wolfgang Schmidt. Is there a time limit to finish the course?
Right now, they have a 6-month time limit to get through the course. They have that on their site, and when you pay for it, and that's on ours too. Whenever we go through our portal, I did talk to them about that, because I said, hey, we got 10 years here, so we may need a little more time. 6 months. They said that's no problem. Just contact them if we can't get it done in 6 months. We can contact them and get that extended for any PAH member.
Okay. And John Cordway is passing along compliments. He's saying great stuff here. And then he also had a question. Was there a measurement module? If not, could that be on the consideration list?
Well, we'd have to see. There might be. I would guess there's measurement including in the operations side. I don't know how in depth it's going to get, but we'll look at that. There's no consideration right now with the present agreement for a whole module on measurement. Though I know PETEX does. They do a big measurement training session themselves. So, but we haven't talked about converting one of those here yet. I don't know if they have that online yet or not, but I would guess it's part of the operations. But we'll find out soon enough on that.
Okay, the next question comes from the chair of the PYP committee, Todd Sakay. Says, can we share this presentation with our organizations to promote the educational modules and the Pipeliners Association of Houston?
I guess what do you mean by share? You can certainly tell people about it and promote it that way. But unless you are signed up through the website, you cannot access the PETEX website, the PETEX Canvas shell. So if you are signed up, if you are a member and you sign up, you can certainly grab some screenshots of the lessons. Of course, we're going to have this presentation. It'll be available, I believe, on the Pipeliners website as well after we're done. And so you can certainly share that and say, hey, we've got this, and here's the stuff that's there, and these are the types of modules and the benefits of it. As I said, you're certainly welcome to share that, but in terms of actually getting into the site itself, you have to register through the PAH website to get access to the PETEX Canvas dashboard.
And just to add to that, George is exactly right. Within a week or so, we'll get the presentation posted onto the website, and also this session is being recorded. So within also another week or so, it will be promoted on our YouTube channel, and those links are on the website. And then Todd had a follow-up question. He said, would you guys be available to present at organizations at a lunch and learn type of event?
I suppose so. What do you think, George?
Yeah, certainly. we can do that.
I heard lunch in there, so.
Virtual lunch.
Virtual lunch.
All right, then we had a follow-up question from Randy Roberts, and it says, would you encourage the operating members to share our education program with their companies to encourage others to join to take advantage of this program?
We certainly would. I mean, as I said, the purpose of this program is twofold. One, to help spread knowledge, build that competence in our younger pipeliners. and some of our older pipeliners too. It's always good to dust off the brain every now and then with some of this stuff. But it's also, this is, as I said, we're offering this as a benefit for joining the Pipeliners Association. And I mean, again, this is $1,000 course. It's also a way to give some of your younger pipeline folks an opportunity to get some training, which many of them want, without you being tied up as much trying to do that training for them. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to share this with your companies and say, here's some opportunities here. And again, it's just a benefit of being a member.
And let's see, John Cordaway had a follow-up question. He's saying, would you all say the YouTube channel is the best way to spread the word? And I guess I'll take that one. Yeah, I guess it depends on your audience and what best meets their learning needs. We'll have the PowerPoint presentation so that anybody could go out there and download and present that if they want, or they can reach out to Ed and George for help. Either doing something virtual like this, or it sounds like they're up for a free lunch and possibly doing some lunch and learn. And then the YouTube channel will be, the recording of the session, and people may find that useful to see what goes on at our meetings and what type of content we put together, and may encourage them to join the association, not only for this education course and future education courses, but what we normally do as part of our content. So thanks for the question. And another question coming in from Robert Finley. Could this lead to credentialing? I'll leave that one up to Ed and George.
I'll leave that one to George.
Credentialing, okay. I'm credentialing in what way? I'm not sure what credentials this would lead to. I mean, certainly, it's not going to lead you to a PE credential. That's pretty established. I think that's something that there's a lot of companies or a lot of organizations, I guess, that offer credentials for things. You can see that from the slide that both Ed and I have got all kinds of alphabets after our name. I guess, I don't know if the Pipeliners Association would ever want to get into a credentialing thing now. Whether the universities tend not to get into credentialing, but they certainly can. I know a lot of the community colleges do that, where you can take certain courses that will lead to credentials. I guess the thing is, is there an organization somewhere that would sponsor some sort of a pipeliner credential? I'm not really sure if there. I mean, right now I don't think there's one out there, but certainly there's other parts that the CEUs may help feed into, either for maintaining credentials or for providing background for credentialing through some of the other organizations that offer those.
All right, thanks, Ed and George. It looks like that is all the questions, so I'll give it just about 3 or 4 more seconds, and then we'll turn it over to Gary to close it out. So going once, going twice, going 3 times, no new questions. So thank you very much, Ed and George. And with that, we'll turn it back over to Gary. Gary?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Ed, George. Great presentation. Thank you, Paul, for helping put all this on. And again, thanks to all our members, all of our volunteers, especially all of our sponsors who helped to make this organization what it is. We couldn't do it without you. Stay healthy, stay sane. Everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And just a reminder that our next meeting is going to be virtual only again on Monday, January 11th, during the lunch hour. So, stay tuned as usual on the website. There'll be announcements that come out when that's getting ready to register. So again, thank you all. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.